Hi guys, and welcome to a second video with warm-up exercises. We're gonna pick up where we left off last time. We finished doing the pre-warm-up warm-ups, meaning we did rippings and we also did some mutes. Now we're going to do 3 notes, and I like to do it with A because it's easier for a beginner to do this. And I also feel that singing on A helps as well with the airflow and the resonance. These are also, resonance is also another topic we're going to talk about in another video. But for the moment we are going to do a 3 notes warm up with A. We're going to start again around A or La, and it's going to be 3 notes, and between each note we are going to have an interval of 1 tone. So basically we're gonna sing 2 tones on 3 notes. It's gonna sound like this. We're gonna go up and then we're gonna come down. The idea is to be able to sing again as freely as possible. This, remember, is the first phonation we're gonna do after we have started warming up our vocal cords. Another thing you should keep in mind is you should do the same breathing. If you feel like yawning, pause and yawn. You shouldn't stop yourself from yawning just because you have to go on. The same thing goes if you're doing it by yourselves with your piano at home. Yawning is a very disputed topic when it comes to singing. Some people say that it doesn't mean anything. Some people say that it helps you relax the vocal cords. I think there's a bit more to it, and I do understand where both of the parties come from. The idea is that when you're singing, the pressure is different because the air you're exhaling whilst you're singing has a different pressure than the normal air you would exhale when you were not singing. And when you do that, the pressure in your brain, because your brain is connected to your head, obviously it's where your mouth is located, brain is above, yeah? So when you're exhaling with pressure because you're singing, the pressure in your brain is changing, hence the need to yawn to adjust that pressure. An additional benefit would be that the vocal cords are doing a bit of a stretching, if you want. It's like you were to stretch like this. That's what the vocal cords are doing when you're yawning. So again, I don't say that yawning is bad. I do say if you don't yawn and you feel like yawning, you will have a much more strained sound coming out, and also the vocal cords will strain because they will be trying very hard not to yawn, hence, the whole straining. So I don't have a problem with you yawning, and neither should you. And if you have any other views on this, let me know. I'm open to any types of suggestions or thoughts or things you have experienced yourselves. So getting back to our 3 notes, we're gonna start at A, and I'm gonna take a little break to do the yawning thing. So getting back to our 3 notes, it should be an A, it should be a very relaxed A, it should be soft. It shouldn't be something complicated. You don't have to use impostation at this time if that's what you're singing. You should just make a very natural A, natural for you. Again, look out for the breath. Back should be straight. You should make sure that what you're doing is completely controlled by you. You're not breathing like you would normally, so to say. You're doing the breath that is going to help you sing. You should always keep in mind that phonations have a 2 role. If you want, first they're improving your technique, and you get to do a lot of tweaks in your technique while you're singing. And secondly, the added benefit of warming up your voice. So the technique is something you will always have to look out for when you're doing the warm-ups. If you want to correct anything in your technique, this is the time to do it with the warm-ups, with the phonations. Getting back to what I was saying. So you should start with M, because M has another added benefit if you want. It pushes the air of the exhale right at the tip of your nose, if you want, here at the palatine veil. And this is the idea. You should be able to sing as much outside of your body as you can. You should sing, you should be able to expose, you should be able to fill a room with your voice, and you should be able to express the sounds outside. You should, if you want, you should think of yourself as an instrument, which is something you should be doing anyway, and you should think as your voice as being something that has been prepared on the inside, but that will manifest itself on the outside of your body. So basically taking it out to the audience. Now, we don't have an audience when we're warming up normally, but that doesn't mean you should be thinking that way. In thinking that way, automatically you should also train yourself to have that straight back and an engaged abdomen, so that the sternum going up and down is going to help you have a clear and easy breath for the support you need when you're singing, whatever it is that you're singing after the warm-ups. Here we go. Ended at C in the lower octave, and we went as high as C in the upper octave. However, we had 3 notes, so the highest one I played for you today was C, D, E. It was E or Mi. Another thing you should look out for when you're doing your warm-ups is the breaking point, or the point where your voice changes. I'm not saying breaking point in the sense of breaking your voice. I'm saying in the sense of one register ending and another one beginning. Along the years, it has been found that around this area, which is in the middle octave, and this one is Mi or E, and this one is F or Fa, around this note, around these 2 notes, it's something called the Melba point. And this is where a lot of people have the area where the lower register ends and the middle register begins. And this is the area when you feel a little bit of a change in the way your chords are being engaged. It's a bit of a, this is why it's called a breaking point, because you feel like your voice is breaking a little bit. However, in order to be able to smoothly sing this over this breaking point, you will have to figure out through exercise, through doing phonations, how you should engage your vocal cords, because this is where it usually this is a point where you usually stop using the vocal cords and the engagement specific for the lower register, the one that vibrates around, so from your mouth until your chest area, so around this area, and start using the vocal cords and the breath to have vibrations at around this area, so around the mouth. This is called middle register, and it's usually the register you're normally speaking. So you will be speaking in the middle register, so from the C until the upper C. Depending on the type of your voice, if you have a deep, rich voice or a higher voice, some notes will be clearer than others when you're speaking. Now, this breaking point is important for you to know, not because it's something you should be afraid of, but it's something that you should seamlessly sail through when you're singing. And you should be aware that starting from E or F or Mi or Fa, you should know that you can start already to think of a freedom specific for the higher register. You should know that starting with this point, the notes are gonna get higher and higher. The airflow is a bit different. You can already start engaging your glutes. You can already start pushing with the feet in the floor if you're getting higher notes that are very fast, one after the other, or if the passage that you're going to sing requires long sustained high notes. You should also know that around starting with this point, you can start to smile a bit more, to rise the apples of your cheeks, which also helps increase the freedom in your voice. Also, the airflow, like I said, is going to be a bit different, because if the airflow in the lower register was richer, the column of air was thicker because the opening in the vocal cords was bigger. As you're going higher, you need to be aware of the fact that the column of air is going to be, if you want, slimmer. It has to be differently. It has to have a different pressure than the one on the lower one or the lower notes. The pressure is going to be a bit higher. The apples of your cheek will give you more freedom if you're smiling, and here and around this higher register is where all the other complicated stuff like enunciation happen. You need to make sure that the vowels you're speaking on the higher notes are as clear as if you were speaking on them on lower notes. You need also to be very well aware of the fact that you need more stamina to sing higher. And another thing you need to be able to control while singing higher is high notes but on soft voice. This is something that can easily be done through messa di voce, which is a topic I'm gonna come back on in a future video. When it comes to lower register, because I have been speaking only about high register, when it comes to lower register, you will find yourself with a lot of vibration going on. And if you're a baritone or a bass, you know what I'm talking about. You have a very rich voice with a lot of harmonics floating around. And if you have such a voice, I congratulate you. It's a really nice voice and you need to hone it correctly. You should not add, on top of the harmonics that you have, you should not add other harmonics. This is like fabricating a lower voice, and this is something you should try to avoid as much as possible. When you're singing the lower register, you also need airflow, you also need support. However, you'll feel that it's getting a bit different than the one you need for higher notes. Also, you will feel that you continuously expand the back of your throat when you're singing lower notes. You will feel that the vibration being everywhere, you have to sort through them a lot. Another thing you should be aware of when you're singing low is the fact that you need to make yourself correctly heard. One of the issues for the lower voices is that because the harmonics happen around this area, they have the tendency to remain in the body, not to be extended outside of your body. So when you're singing in lower register, and if this is what you do because you're a bass or a baritone, you need to find a way of taking all the harmonics that are going on and building up and staying inside of the body and take them out and fill the room, like I explained earlier. So the trick is that you need also some support, some extra push to do that, because otherwise, if you don't have enough air and enough support and pressure to expand the notes outside of your head, and I mean it literally, then they will sound stuffy, they would sound muted, and they will sound unfree. Additionally, your vocal cords are gonna be strained from this. So if you're a mezzo-soprano, the same thing applies. If you're an alto, the same thing applies. You need to be able to not fabricate any extra deepness in your voice, any extra throatiness in your voice. And you should be able to sing it freely and expand it outside of yourself, outside of your instrument. And that's very important. When you're singing higher, you don't have that problem, because those types of notes have the tendency to get expanded outside of your voice and outside of your instrument anyway, because that's their nature. The wavelength is bigger and they have the tendency to get out. When you're singing lower, the wavelength is much not smaller, but it's much closer together, hence the tendency to keep themselves in. So this is what you should be looking out for when you're doing the warm-ups, and this is why I said we should start with A, and this is why the first few warm-ups that you're doing should be done with A, in order to have more freedom and control the airflow. I'm gonna talk a lot about technique, and as you heard until now, I have been talking more about technique than about the notes themselves. Of course, intonation is very important. It's very important that you sing the right note and not another one. However, in due time, if you're doing these warm-ups, your ear will automatically know what's the correct note in the sequence that you're singing. Learning and rehearsing over and over again a specific song will also help you with that. Also very important is to know what you're having as a musical background. So rehearse by yourselves with a piano, but also rehearse with a musical background. It's very important to know what you're singing and who you're singing it with and how it's supposed to sound. The whole sound is very important. As you see, I'm not using a microphone for two reasons. The camera has one, and secondly, when we're singing, we should be able to first learn how to sing outside of ourselves, make ourselves heard without a microphone being present. A microphone has a tendency to get us lazy. We don't want to be lazy when we're singing. So that was about the three notes. Another exercise that you can do at this point, and I'm going to let you do it by yourself, I'm just going to play it for you, is going to be a four note. So you're going to have... These are four notes. You have again the three notes at the beginning with two tones between them, and the last one is one semitone higher. So the fourth one is a semitone higher than the third one. It should be, I think this one's called a quart in English. The first one is a tierce, I think. Or three note. I'm not sure how they're being translated in English. I know them unfortunately in German and in Romanian. So we're gonna do again the four notes. So remember, you have the same thing at the beginning, but with an additional semitone afterward. So it's gonna be something like this. back at C or the lower do. A thing you can do in lower passaggio, so for the lower voice, to increase your freedom is to smile. I find that if you're smiling on the lower notes, because as for the higher notes you need to open your mouth a lot on the vertical scale. If you smile horizontally, so think horizontally on the lower notes, you will help sift through all the harmonics that are generated by the lower notes, and you will feel more freedom. However, it shouldn't be a smile that's forced, and it shouldn't be a smile that strains your vocal cords. These are the tips and tricks I wanted to share with you today, and this video goes out to Irina, who wanted to do some warm-ups with me and who promised me she's gonna do this. So I hope this was fun for you, and I hope you had fun. And I hope you as well, my dear viewers, are looking at this and you're liking it. And if you do, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, let me know if you have anything you would like to add, questions, feedback, topics you want to see covered, and I will do my very best to answer. I am really looking forward to any sort of feedback from you, and I love reading through your questions and your feedbacks. And with that, I thank you very much for watching, and I wish you a lovely day, evening, morning, night, wherever you are. And until next one, take care and stay relaxed. Bye!